So Bayley Hazen Blue is one of the first cheeses that we made at Jasper Hill. Also a raw milk cheese, so focused on managing our pastures, managing our cows and our milking practices to protect the milk and its attributes, and to make the most delicious, balanced cheese we possibly can. So Bayley Hazen Blue is known as, I think, being stylistically more similar to Stilton than others. Yep. And another attribute about Bayley that's pretty common is that there's a lot of white space. As with good graphic design, there's, I think a blue cheese benefits from a good balance of blue and white. And you'll also notice these like veins that are sort of prominent depending on where you cut your piece. And that a lot of times people assume that we're injecting the blue mold, because that's exactly what that looks like. But we mix the blue mold cultures in with the milk, and then we spike the fresh cheeses with stainless steel spikes, and that allows oxygen to get in, and blue mold needs oxygen to grow. Blue flora, we'll say, a little more marketable term. So if you don't spike a wheel, it stays completely white, and then it's like sort of chalky and feta-like and sort of boring at the end. But if you properly aerate your cheese and you build a cheese with nice pockets of air and openness, it's very difficult. It's like making a surface ripened, soft ripened cheese from the inside out. You are encouraging your flora to grow and be the ripening agent, but you need it to grow inside. Blue mold, blue flora is very, it needs oxygen, but like a small amount less than what's in the normal air. And so you create these little crevices where it can flourish, and it softens the cheese. It adds that complexity. And I mentioned the white space. This keeps it balanced. It should be cheesy and toasty and nutty first, and then you get the subtle anise spice characters second. So it should not be too overwhelming. Metallic, bitter, spicy, peppery can be where more assertive blue cheeses land. This should be more of an entry level. It's big flavors, complex flavors, but balanced in terms of those like spicy notes. So we'll take that Reserve Supreme Champion moniker and be proud of that for a long time. Just got to find an engraver to put our name on that trophy without messing it up. So that's my next challenge.
I was funny because I was there and I accepted the award for them, and I said, well, you know what, I'm flying back. I'll take the trophies with me. And he's like, they're valued about 60,000 each, so you might not want to take them through immigration and customs. I'm like, oh, okay, I won't. All right. So this is what I would consider to be one of the most palatable, easy to eat snacking blue cheeses. It's just got so much cream, so much flavor that, a lot of times you have that saltiness or that tanginess that gets in the way. This has a nice balance of both. So, Gillian, let's talk about the Cabernet Sauvignon.
Sure, and I couldn't agree with you more. This is, for me, just the right amount of blue. Just like you said, just that delicious snackability, right? The cheeses, the Cabrales of the world and things like that, those are, a little, I think, very pungent for any kind of wine pairing. I might even almost go towards an ale of some sort, but this is our Beringer Knights Valley Cabernet Sauvignon that I think works quite well with this cheese. I love that the tannins, they are there, but they're not too drying. They're a little kind of, I think, very well integrated into the wine. We don't use a lot of new oak or heavy toast barrels on this, so that intentionally when you pull the cork on this wine, you can enjoy it right away. That's not to say this wine doesn't cellar. We tasted 2 weeks ago this wine back to 1974, the very first vintage of this wine, and they were all so fresh and delicious. Knights Valley is a very, very small growing region in Sonoma County that butts right up against Napa, so very similar in terms of the climate. and also the success over the years with Bordeaux varietals. So this is Cabernet Sauvignon with a little bit of Merlot to kind of soften the tannins, a little bit of Cabernet Franc for some beautiful fragrance, some Malbec, and a hint of Petit Verdot as well. So, you know, I love this wine. It's one of my favorites in the portfolio because it drinks like a much more expensive wine. This actually retails for somewhere, anywhere, depending on where you are in the country, between $25 and $30 a bottle. So that's a lot of wine for the money. I love, again, the salty, blue, crunchy kind of texture of this cheese with the Knights Valley as the backdrop. I think it's a pretty wonderful pairing.
Cabernet Sauvignon and blue cheese is one of my favorites. I really enjoy that, and this is no exception. You really get that the wine takes the cheese into a creaminess that's just so rich, and the flavors bring out more of the butter, the cream, and that back little area of earthiness. It blends, I think, really well with the fruit and also with a little bit of the oakiness. Zoe, your thoughts?
All right. Yes, I would, to go back to the texture notes, I think the whole thing for me is velvety, like red velvet. The soft tannins, that fudgy texture of the cheese, they come together in a very harmonious way. Especially my piece here is on the lower blue side, and so it's again, I'm surprised because I don't normally gravitate towards this in my head. I would maybe for a white go with a port or sauterne, but for a wine that is not at all sweet, usually some off dry character helps round out blue cheese, which tends to be quite salty and sometimes a little bit bitter. But this pairing doesn't need sweetness to work, which is surprising to me. So I'm sort of confounded and happy over here.
Great. Pauline, tell us about the chocolate.
Yeah, so for this one, we selected Opalys, 33%, which is a white chocolate with a very light colors. And it's really a taste of fresh milk and vanilla. So a good balance between both, not too sweet. And the texture is interesting also because it's very smooth, velvety as well. With this blue cheese, what is interesting is that the white chocolate will really enhance the creamy taste of this cheese, but also keeping along the powerful blue character of the cheese, giving really a white balance, a good balance between both. So we really have a smooth and a delicate pairing between both. And it's true that usually we recommend dark chocolate with blue cheese because they are both very powerful, very strong. But it was very interesting with this one, the way it was highlighting the creamy side of both. Yeah.
I've never tried a white chocolate and a blue and our Bailey before. It is very interesting, and it's what I would want to end a meal with. You know, it's almost like putting a little sea salt on a dessert, which I just love. Yeah. You know, it's helpful to the chocolate and the cheese together. But if you guys want to get a little crazy and break Michael's script, trying the 70% with the Bailey is also one of the most unexpected pairings. You know, sounds like you're familiar with the magic that can happen with blue cheese and dark chocolate. It's not something you'd normally think of, but it's like it can do some interesting things.
Gillian?
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree. I'm just having a blast over here, just trying all the different combinations. I do really love kind of the caramel notes in this chocolate.
Yeah, as well.
Absolutely addictive and does really play to the savoriness of the blue cheese quite beautifully. And I just think that you have all of these different flavors and textures in play. Like, this is a whole party right here in one sitting, you know, where you can just, how many different flavor combinations can we produce out of 4 cheeses, 4 beautiful chocolates, and 4 beautiful wines? I mean, the combinations really are endless. And that, I think, kind of hopefully speaks a little bit to the versatility of the wines, but also to the utterly spectacular quality of the cheeses and the chocolates all together. So yeah, not a bad Friday.
Not at all, not at all. You know, you know, sitting here and waiting kind of for the effect of the cheese, the chocolate, and the wine to kind of take in and kind of sit down and really absorb that, because my first impression was it was kind of like nice, but it wasn't overpowering or anything or that exciting. But sitting here and letting it sink in, and all of a sudden you start feeling or you start tasting or getting that richness that's coming in. This is an exceptional pairing. There's a spiciness that comes out of the blue that wasn't there before. That's really nice. It's kind of like a white pepper hit for me. And then the chocolate brings out a little bit more of the that caramel that's coming in there. And then the wine, I really pick up a little bit of that structural oak in that just comes out and kind of brings everything together. It's really nice. But I have to say is that it's also, you know, any one of these combinations can kind of work together. There's so many different flavors that we like and we have preferences for. Like Zoe said, she really likes dark chocolates with this, and to switch them out, I think is really fun, because there's always that, you know, where we look at the ability to be able to say, well, this is what we've always done. We really like it this way. We put this with this, and this goes with this, but trying something a little different, you know, being able to try these 4 together and then separately is really a lot of fun. And I know that Zoe has rarely ever stayed on any of my direction. And I love that about her, because she does find, and you know, you go through there as you're tasting, you notice that something you might want to add in. We talk about that is like one of the pairings, the Pinot Noir. You could have something a little bit more. So could we oomph it up a little bit and put in the Cab instead of the Pinot Noir? Absolutely. I think it would work really well.